So I want to talk to you about aging and the diseases that it causes, things like Alzheimer's, cancer, and heart disease. And I have two main reasons that I want to do this. The first one is that I'm a biologist who's slightly neurotic and recently turned 30, and this seemed like a cheap, easy way of going through therapy. But the second, though, is the much more important one. I want to persuade you that inside of this heavy-sounding topic that causes so many of us so much anxiety is hidden a research area that should really give us so much hope. Now, before I get to that, what even is aging? We've kind of always assumed that it was just that getting old was just the inevitable outcome of living for a long time. That as you used your body and mind, damage and wear and tear just accumulated until things started to fail. But recent research has suggested that this is completely the wrong way to think about aging. This change in our view all starts with a particularly grisly experiment, where an old mouse was stitched to a younger mouse so that they would share a circulatory system. Now, when this was done, something miraculous happened. As the young blood pumped through the body of the older mouse, it actually caused it to start to rejuvenate. That's to say that the old mouse, its brain, its heart, its muscles, all started to function like those of a much younger animal. And this could even be achieved by just taking blood from that young mouse and transfusing it into the old mouse. And I think this says something fairly fundamental about what aging is. It isn't just a whole series of systems within your body gradually wearing out until something fails. It's a process that affects your entire body and is regulated by something in the blood. So where does this get us? Well, if we can start to understand what these factors are in the blood that cause this rejuvenation, then we might be able to start treating old age in a completely different way. We could slow and maybe even reverse the decline we see with old age. We could postpone when these chronic diseases develop. We could extend how long people live healthily. And this would be completely different to how we approach things at the moment. Instead of treating each of these conditions individually as if they were separate, often in ways that compromise your quality of life, just to give people those extra few months or years, wouldn't it be better if instead of helping people to die later, we instead help them to live for longer? Thank you.
Okay, first I find this really interesting because I'm not 30. Haven't been for some time. But it does sound a little picture of Dorian Grayish in my mind. But I'm intrigued by the notion of stitching my old self to somebody young. I'm trying to think of the right young person to do that. But my question is, if you're transfusing the young blood into the old mouse, and that works just as well as the stitchery, and that's probably good because when you stitch them together, do you see any effects on the younger mouse?
So that's actually a really interesting question. I mean, obviously I skipped over some of the nuance because of time, but what they found is that the younger mouse actually started to age much faster while attached to the old mouse. But this sounds like a losing situation, right? But actually, it means that not only can we identify factors from young blood that promote regeneration and rejuvenation, but we can look for things that have increased in old blood that are causing these problems. And we've actually found examples of both of these. So things that are both pro-rejuvenation and things that cause aging.
So this does conjure up visions of grade B science fiction movies and mad scientists and trying to find the elixir of life and having young bodies locked in a closet somewhere.
It's a pretty accurate vision of biology labs.
It sounds like your research, right? But no, but you know, the sort of simplistic question is, so then would it work to take blood from a young person and inject it into an old person? And I'm sure it's not that simple, but it works in the mice, so.
You say you're sure it's not that simple. There's actually an ongoing trial going on down, I think it's at Stanford, looking at whether transfusions of young blood can help alleviate the symptoms of Alzheimer's. I have to say, with the mouse experiments, it took a lot of young blood to rejuvenate the old mouse. This is not something that I would recommend, but if we can identify the factors, I think then it could become a more viable option.
You know, this is an ongoing rumor about Mick Jagger that I've heard, actually. I'm just saying. So is this something particular to blood? Are there other fluids that can be used in this research, like cerebrospinal or something like that?
So it's an interesting question. I think it probably is most effective with blood because one of the big suggestions of how this is working is it's certain factors that the brain is secreting that are just changing over time. And these are usually factors that are communicating with all of the systems that they're affecting. So those signals that have to reach everywhere in the body reach it through the blood. So it seems likely that we'd be able to capitalize on the most by taking blood.
All right. I know,
Thank you.
it's gory, but isn't it great?